There's that many carbs in that little amount of food? Welcome back to LiveLeanTV for women. I'm your host, Jessica Guthrow, helping people all over the world live lean 365 days a year. So carbohydrates are for sure the most misunderstood and abused macronutrient of the three: proteins, carbs, and fats. So today I'm gonna answer some of the most common questions about carbs and shed some light on some of the shocking truths about carbs. Some of these questions are there really good carbs versus bad carbs? How do carbs affect weight gain? Should I be doing low or no carb? How many carbs should I be eating per day? And how do I even measure carbs and know if I'm eating the right amount? It's pretty clear that there's a lot of confusion around carbs and yet a lot of love for them. I mean, I love carbs too. I get ya, I feel you on that one. I love carbs. Unfortunately, the straight up abuse and overconsumption of carbs is leading to so many people's unwanted fat gain. What's worse is most people are overeating carbs and not even knowing it. They may think they're eating a little bit of carbs, but in reality, it's way more than they think. So carbs are totally awesome. I'm not saying that carbs are bad. I'm just saying that they need to be respected and understood. And earned! You better earn those carbs! All right, so let's dive into these questions, shall we? So is there really such thing as good carbs versus bad carbs? I wish that I could say no, but that would only be true if I was only talking about nature's carbs, like whole, real foods that grow from the earth. In that case, I don't think there really are any bad carbs. But unfortunately, we live in this world where a lot of the carbs people are eating are man-made, manufactured, processed, and boxed carbohydrates, which is totally different. And yes, a lot of these carbs are really bad for you. The main problem with eating these types of carbs like cereal, bread, pasta, candy, soda, or pop, is that they are not balanced and they're devoid of any nutrients, minerals, and fiber that helps your body process the carbs the way carbs are meant to be processed. So what really makes them bad is the way that our body reacts when they're consumed. Having too many of these processed type of carbs in your diet can lead to some really, really bad problems. Things like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cognitive malfunctioning. I mean, the list goes on. You do not want to see what happens to your body on bad carbs. A while back, I did a video about the best carb sources for living lean, and I laid them all out on my kitchen countertop and I showed you all of my favorite carb sources. So click here to watch that video and find out which are the good and the best carbs for living lean. So how do carbs affect weight gain? So like I said, processed foods are missing those natural elements that help your metabolism really regulate and digest the carbs and process them properly. And the lack of fiber in these foods makes it really hard for you to stop at the recommended portion size. I don't know about you, but if you ever open up a bag of chips, it's hard to stop at just like 12 or whatever the portion size recommended is, because you just don't feel full, so you just keep on eating. But if you were to eat something like an apple, you're not likely to eat more than one apple at a time, maybe two maximum, not a whole bag of apples. So you'll make it a lot easier on yourself if you choose different foods, just because different foods will fill you up more than other foods will. So weight gain from eating too many carbohydrate-rich foods is mainly due to the insulin response. This is what happens when your body is processing carbs. Insulin is produced in the metabolism process, and this helps remove sugars from your bloodstream. When there's too many sugars in your bloodstream, the excess gets stored automatically as body fat. When you're eating processed foods, like I said, breads, pastas, cereals, and candy and soda, all that type of stuff, it's really easy to get too much sugar too fast. You can just take a look at the glycemic index, for example, to tell that processed foods have a lot higher index number than natural foods do. One of the crazy, shocking truths about carbs is that even some starchy foods can be higher on that glycemic index than foods that taste sweet. For example, wheat breads like these that I took a video of in the grocery store have a higher glycemic index than foods like these that I actually bought from the grocery store, like pears and grapefruits. Don't judge a food by its sweetness when it comes to the glycemic index, because just because a pear and a grapefruit tastes sweeter than a rice cake or a piece of whole wheat bread doesn't mean that they affect your body in the same way. These bad boys have fiber, they have minerals and enzymes to help slow down the metabolism. I really encourage you guys to check out our blog post on LiveLeanTV.com about the glycemic index. I'm leaving the link down below. Foods highest on this index are most likely to cause you weight gain when you eat them in excess because of your body's insulin response. So choose wisely and try to stick mainly to those lower glycemic foods. To set your body up to naturally burn off its own body fat, of course you want to aim for balance with your diet. So adding fats and proteins to these high glycemic foods can help slow down the digestion, but the easiest thing is really just to stick to lower glycemic foods in the first place. All right, how about should you be going low or no carb? Most people who need to lose weight are most likely overdoing it on the carbs. So if this is you, then yes, you should lower your carbohydrate intake. But that doesn't mean you have to go low or no carb. It's actually impossible to go no carb because even protein sources have some carbohydrates in them. I recommend that the way you decide how many carbs should be in your diet is by first calculating your calorie needs and then figuring out which kind of macronutrient split you want, and that will give you the number. It makes no sense to decide on a random number of carbs per day if you don't know the balance of everything else. The macro balance that we most recommend to clients is a 40-20-40, meaning 40% protein, 20% carbs, and 40% fats. That means carbs are the lowest of the three macronutrients. So now the question, how many carbs should I be eating per day? So to give you an idea in gram numbers, let's take a 2,000 calorie diet, for example. So if you wanted to follow that macronutrient split of 40-20-40, like I just said, with the carbs being the lowest and your calories are 2,000, that's gonna give you a breakdown of about 200 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbohydrates, and about 89 grams of fat per day. And if you were to swap the fat and carb ratios with each other, so you want to have more carbs and less fat in your diet, so now it's a 40-40-20, then you're gonna have about 200 grams of carbs in your diet. I would say that in general, most people get better results when their carbs are lower. But I definitely recommend that you keep them somewhere in between 20 to 40% of your diet. So for a 2,000 calorie diet, that means somewhere between 100 to 200 grams. And that's still quite a bit of carbs as long as you're eating whole natural foods. All right, so how do you even measure carbs and figure out if you are eating the right amount? Great question, because if you're gonna get a handle on your carbohydrates, you need to know how to measure them and how to figure this out. Knowledge is power. So like I mentioned in last week's video, which was a simple trick for easy weight loss, we use a food scale to measure out the grams of foods, which helps us determine their nutritional content. Using a food scale is hands down the best method to get a clear idea of how much food you're actually consuming. We actually just got this fancy, shiny new food scale in the mail the other day. If you want to pick up this exact one, I left the link down below because it's a really nice one, brand new, upgraded. We've upgraded. So I'm going to use this scale today to give you guys a little demonstration behind the scenes of how we measure certain foods, and we're going to use these sweet potato fries. Turn on your food scale and make sure that it is set to grams. You can see that right there. You can change the units. There's many different options here, but the one we like to use is grams. And then you're gonna weigh your food item, and you always wanna do your food measurements with raw foods because cooking does change the weight but not the nutritional content. So you can see just this small handful of sweet potato fries, it's maybe about 8 pieces, is coming out to about 74 grams. So now that you know the weight of that food in grams, you can now figure out the nutritional content by entering it into a database like our meal planner software. You can download this software on our website, LiveLeanTV.com. It's 15 bucks. It will change your life and your body. So listen guys, if you are overweight, or even if you just have that last little 5 or 10 pounds of flab that you've been trying forever to get rid of, then I have a hunch that you might be overdoing it on carbs probably every day. I really encourage you to take at least 1 week or even just 1 day to measure every single thing you eat and then find out the shocking truth whether you're eating too many carbs or not. Like I said, knowledge is power, knowledge is your friend. Don't be afraid to find out the truth about what you're really doing, because it's probably the thing that's holding you back. Once you actually know that shocking truth, you can start to make the decisions and take the actions to correct it and change things forever. I really hope this video helped you and gave you some ideas and some inspiration of what to do with your diet. If it did, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure to share this with a friend who might also need to hear the shocking truth about carbs. I'll see you guys again next Thursday. In the meantime, keep living lean. One simple trick for easy weight loss. Before you stop watching this video, just hang with me. I'm gonna explain how you can use this and why it works so well.